Hi everybody, Mr. Colella here. I want to give you a quick recap on how to solve proportions. Let's take a quick look. First, I want to remind you what a proportion is. A proportion, as you can see here, is an equation that represents equal ratios. Now, we talked about ratios. Ratios look just like fractions. So, for instance, we could say 1 out of 2, and it looks just like 1/2. And you know equivalent ratios are just like equivalent fractions, so we can say that 1/2 is really the same as, say, 3/6. Now separately, they're just ratios. Once I make them equal, it is now an equation, and since I have one ratio equal to another ratio, that's what makes it a proportion. So when we look at proportions, there's a couple of different ways we can solve them. Now, when you look at this right now, it doesn't look like there's anything to solve, but well, what if I did this? What if I said 1/2 equals, and I put an x instead of that 3? We would need to solve for what that x is. Now, in situations like this is pretty simple. You could just look at this and say, well, to go from 2 to 6, that's times 3. So therefore, 1 times 3 has to be 3. And that's how you get your answer of a 3 up on the top as your numerator. Now, it's not always that easy, unfortunately. So there are times when it doesn't just perfectly multiply across, and that's when we need to take a different strategy. In those situations, we're going to use cross multiplication. So here are your steps for cross multiplication. Just quickly review those. So first step is you are going to multiply each diagonal. We'll look at what that looks like in a second. Second rule is you are going to set the cross products equal to each other, creating an equation. And then the third step is then solve that equation. So again, multiply each diagonal. You're going to get two cross products when you do that. You're going to set those cross products equal to each other, and that makes an equation, and then solve that equation. Let's do one to see what that looks like. So I have here a proportion for you. We've got 3/8 equals x over 52. The first step is to multiply the two diagonals. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 times 52 right here. 3 times 52 is 156. And then I'm going to multiply the other diagonal. 8 times x, that's going to give me 8x. So that's step 1, is multiply those two diagonals. Step 2, I set those two cross products equal to each other. Remember, product is the answer to a multiplication problem. That's why we're calling them cross products. So I now have an equation after setting them equal. So I have 156 equals 8x. This should be a nice quick one-step equation. You should know how to solve these, but in case you forget, you're always just going to look at the coefficient, which is next to your variable. Whatever that coefficient is, you're going to divide each side by it. So in this case, it is 8. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 8. It's going to cancel these 8s out, leaving me x behind. My answer is 156 divided by 8, which comes out to be 19.5. So x, back up here in our original equation, is 19.5. That's how you cross multiply to solve a proportion. Hope this comes back to you quickly. Hope this helps. Have a great week.